Good afternoon and welcome to the Access Innovation Corporate Edition Telecom. It's great for you to join. Last year we were in person in Tel Aviv. This year you're all joining from your homes. It's been really quite interesting. A long road this year, but I hope that you guys are all safe and sound. I just wanted to thank you all for joining us today. And as they say at the physical events, please turn off your cell phones. So right now, I just wanted to give you a little bit of background on the event. We have more than 200 people participating today from 25 countries, very exciting startups, mobile operators from all over the world. So let's start the show. We have with us today various sponsors who have worked with us over the past few years, and I wanted to just give you the background on who's joining us today. We have today Ibex Investment Company, which we've worked with over the past few years, and we're pleased to have Nicole Priel, the VP Investments, joining us. From MTS, we have Dennis Diakonov, the Innovation Manager, and we have also with us from DLA Piper, our good friend Naomi Merilis, Head of Business Development, and you have the opportunity to hear from her in a few minutes. And from Yigal Arnon, our good friend Simon Weintraub, partner at Yigal Arnon, one of Israel's top law firms. So a little bit about Access Telecom. And really last week, UBS, which is one of the world's leading companies for wealth management, did a report on where people should invest their money in the coming decade. And the four areas which they focused on, the next best big thing, fintech, health tech, green tech, and 5G, are all areas that are very much closely connected to the telecom industry. And the backbone for that technology is really 5G. And all the companies around the world are thinking, really, at what point are we going to have applications that are going to take full advantage of 5G? And again, it's an issue of chicken and an egg. The company Visual Capital has put out this report 2 months ago on really where 5G is going to be penetrated right now and where in 5 years. At this point, most of Europe is moving heavily towards 5G, and the US is expected to be about 50% in full coverage by 2025. So all of these countries around the world are trying to come up with new applications, and as we would say, what is the killer application that's going to drive 5G penetration across the world? How are we going to find that 5G application? How are we going to find the killer application? And for those of you familiar with Waldo, it's not always easy to identify the newest technologies that are going to drive consumer behavior. If you look at the deals that happened in the telecom industry over the past few years, you can see there's a real convergence of media and telecom, especially over COVID-19, when many people were using their phones for media and vice versa. The deals that have happened, AT&T and Time Warner, Vodafone and Liberty Global, Deutsche Telekom and Netflix, all these mergers are starting to affect the way that this industry is operating, as some of the leading OTT operators who have done so much of the profit generation in the industry is now shifting, as telecom operators are trying to find new services for their consumers and for their businesses to drive the bottom line. And that's why we're here today. We've worked over the past few months to identify the three areas which we believe are going to drive additional revenues for telecom operators. The customer experience. How easy is it to use the phone now that consumers are using the phone for so much? You know, Zoom, obviously, education, business services, B2B and enterprises. So much of the business is now shifting to mobile. And of course, B2C, business to consumer services. What services are available that are truly innovative? The work that we've done over the past 8 years focuses on three core areas. We work a lot with some of the world's largest corporations to help them identify some of these new technologies. We work with Visa, Kimberly-Clark, Kaspersky, and some other companies as well. And we've organized conferences, again, before COVID, in more than 20 countries around the world. Now that's shifted. And of course, we've moved very heavily into online because people still want to meet each other over the internet and over Zoom. And we've done advisory work, which we've helped more than 25 companies raise their funding rounds. What's proprietary about the work that we do is all the deal flow, all these events that we do, all these meetings that we have, they're driving innovative companies to us. And we're very proud to say that the startups that we've selected today are truly innovative, and that has been our signature for the past 8 years. And the companies that have been at our events have gone on to raise almost $1 billion from institutional investors. And of course, over these past 8 months, we moved heavily into virtual engagement. Over the past few months, we've had over 20 online events with more than 5,000 attendees from 40 countries. And we've covered topics from investing in Africa, in Italy, cooperation, cybersecurity, digital health. We've done road trips to Russia and other countries, how to scale your startup, all these innovative projects, because people are still demanding the ability to go across borders. We've completed recently a project for Ford. This is the 6th year that we've worked with Ford, and this project has taken us all across Europe. And we scouted over 1,000 startups and took us to a final event, which brought us to 32 startups from 18 countries. And we were also fortunate to have Ford mentors from 8 locations around the world. And we created our own platform to make this startup corporate engagement process so much easier, and we're now starting to bring that to other corporations, because event platforms are great, but still, if you want to get to the engagement between corporations, between different business units, this is what we've brought to the table. So today, we'd like to just welcome you. Glad you can join us. We have 3 sessions: innovative startups, top telecom operators, and want to give you a flavor about where innovation is going and what we can do to help you bridge those gaps. At this point, I'd like to again thank the staff, and Doreen in particular has worked so hard for this event, and pass over the lectern visual to Jason Weiss, COO at Deal Flow Manager at Axis. Jason, good to be with you today.
Thanks, Ed. Thank you, everyone. So it's really great to be here, and I'm really excited to be speaking to you about the Axis Telecom event. We see telecom as a huge opportunity. We worked across many, many industries over the past 7-8 years, and with many of the world's largest companies. But over the past year or two, we've gotten really excited and engaged about telecom. So let me share my screen, and I want to show you some of the things that we are seeing in the space, and also go through some of the details of the event and best practices that we have, so everyone can take the most out of the time that we have today. All right. So as we all know, this is a year that's shown immense growth for telecom, and it's going to be continuing over the next few years. We're expecting to see over 1 billion new subscribers coming on board until 2025. We've seen over 8 billion subscriptions, not subscribers, but mobile subscriptions this year, more than there are people. We're seeing over double-digit annual growth rate of data, and we're seeing, of course, the growth of IoT. The main point here is, of course, the industry is huge, as we all know, but the growth is continuing to grow more and more. And this is largely going to be fueled by 5G. We all know the opportunity that it presents, but also some challenges. We're seeing over 1 billion new 5G mobile subscribers over the next couple of years. So the industry is growing, the opportunity is here, but we still know there are some core challenges that remain. The first is something that we've been seeing for many years happening in the telecom industry, which is falling ARPU, average revenue per user, which in some countries, in some telcos, it's been over 50%. And this is due to many factors: competition from other telcos, OTTs getting into the mix, high fixed costs, and many other areas. And this has really driven telcos to look beyond the core into new non-core revenue streams, which we'll talk about a lot today at our event. The second area is 5G. Despite the hype, and Ed mentioned earlier about finding those solutions, it's still not clear what are going to be those killer applications and the use cases that are going to drive revenue in the business area as well as for consumers when telcos adopt 5G. And I would be remiss not to mention the elephant in the room, or the virtual room, which is how COVID-19 has affected the telecom industry. On one side, there's been a big boost where it's showing more use cases potentially, where more people are being stuck at home or needing more bandwidth and more connectivity. And telcos are providing that core infrastructure that's very valuable. We even think that there could be more reasons why consumers would pay more for 5G to get that higher level connectivity. But at the same time, we also know that for many, many telcos, it's been very hard because they've been unable to focus on their innovation practice, which we've heard from many, many people over the past 6 or 7 months. So at Access Innovation, over the past year, even before COVID, we started talking to telco operators from around the world, and we spoke to over 20 different operators, really trying to understand what other challenges are you seeing, what are the opportunities, what are the areas of innovation that you are looking at, and how can Israel play a role? And we've gained some keen insights, and we believe there's a huge, huge opportunity bridging the gap between global telco operators and Israeli startups. And that's why we've created our latest initiative called Tiger, Telecom Innovation for Growth and Retention. We love four-letter names here at Access Innovation. This is a program really built about connecting the most relevant Israeli startups with global telecom operators focused on core areas, which I'll mention again in a minute. As we all know, Israel is a core area for innovation. We are the startup nation here. And historically, Israel has had a very strong telecom industry, largely focused on core infrastructure. But we're seeing more and more companies that have innovative solutions for new revenue generating solutions, customer experience, as well as partnership opportunities to go to market through telcos. And we're seeing the telco industry becoming more active. Over 40 telco corporations and communications companies have established a presence here. Over 30 R&D centers have been established just in the past 10 years, and nearly 20 investment or M&A deals by telco corporations have happened just in 2019. And we expect, and we're seeing these numbers continue to grow and grow, and showing that there's a huge opportunity that's largely been untapped by many telco operators. At Tiger, in this new program we are running, we have two core focuses. The first is new revenue generating services. What are the opportunities that exist for B2B, enterprise, consumer, to provide new revenue streams outside of the core? At the same time, the customer experience is becoming more and more critical. Thanks to AI and other technologies, you can really have the chance to know more about your customers, communicate with them in a more personalized way. This is critical to maintaining customers, keeping customers, but of course, being able to upsell and provide new revenue through your existing customer base. In a nutshell, the Tiger program is really about helping our partners, telco operators, successfully identify, build KPIs for POCs and pilots, and ultimately launch new products and services in the market to enable those results, whether it's a specific goal you have, revenue, KPIs, and bring your innovation to life. And when we talk about KPIs, at Access Innovation, every project we do is really heavily built about understanding what are the goals, how can we not just meet them, but exceed them. Everything we have in the Tiger program is built very thoroughly to start with the identification. What are the right technologies, the right companies, the right businesses that you are looking for? How can we provide our own insights and go beyond that way? Through all of the steps of managing the pilot, the POC process, to ultimately reaching the stage where you can make that decision whether to launch and go with that solution and really show impact on innovation and show the rest of the telco operators and show the rest of your team where you can really find those next solutions. Our program is built with many components. These are just a few of them. We're offering it as an annual subscription or beginning with a custom project in one or two core scouting areas. We do a monthly scouting report based on your target areas. We have quarterly white papers, which we've been writing focused on industry topics such as automotive, how telco and automotive are merging together and where that opportunity exists in areas like digital health and many others. Our consultation is really the core advisory work, which we've been providing to companies for the past 7 years and helped dozens of corporations launch successful collaborations with startups. We understand what it takes to bring the two sides together and ultimately find the right program, the right model to get something done. And finally, we have our events. As Ed mentioned, we've been running events for the past 7 years, done over 70 in-person events until COVID and 20 webinars since then. We believe whether it's in-person or virtual, the events are critical, not just for deal flow, also for marketing, for branding, and for connecting with people all around the world. We're in a global world. Even if we might have to be stuck in one place for a long time, it's really necessary to maintain those global connections. So we put on events like this one to enable people to continue making those really relevant business partnerships. So that's what we are doing here today. As part of our activities, connecting startups with corporations and investors, we're super excited about the telco industry and see this event as another launching pad, and we hope to see more partnerships and deals coming out of it. We're excited to have a truly fantastic lineup of speakers, of startups, and attendees from over 25 countries today. All of our telco panelists are in roles of innovation, VP, or business unit managers. We have people coming from as far away as Seattle and Chile, also all across Europe and Asia. It's a truly diverse and exciting opportunity to meet all these people, and we're so glad that everyone has decided to join us. On the startup side, we have 11 startups presenting from Israel. Each company we've selected based on their innovation, their technology, and the relevancy their telco operators. We've seen amazing, amazing companies over the past few months, and we're super excited about what every single one of these startups has to offer. The event is broken down into 3 sessions: customer experience, B2B, and B2C. Each session begins with a roundtable, followed by the startup pitching session. The roundtable will have discussions between the panelists on questions related to the topic, as well as how they work with startups, what are their areas of innovation, what do they think will happen in this space in the next 5 to 10 years. Really, really exciting insights we're going to hear. Secondly, we'll have the startup pitches. Well, every company that I mentioned here will pitch, followed by a few minutes of Q&A. At the end of these 3 sessions, we have another exciting opportunity, virtual random networking, where we'll have 5-minute speed dating. We had a bunch of people actually take part in this earlier in the event, and I highly recommend it to everyone to stay on. It's the last session after the B2C services to take part in that. So now I'd like to wrap up my presentation and really wish everyone to have a successful event. We put a lot of time and effort into all aspects of it to make it really worth your time. We believe there's great opportunities for networking. We have in the Pinetoe platform the ability to chat, the ability to send meeting requests, build an attendee card to showcase what you are looking for. The platform will be open today till the end of the night, so you can feel free to stay on here and set meetings or chat and take it offline. Really encourage everyone to take advantage of this opportunity, not just for networking, but we hope to see some great new business partnerships established from here. Thank you so much. And now I'd like to pass it on to our next speaker, Simon Weintraub from Yigal Arnon, who's going to share some thoughts. Simon, thank you so much for sponsoring the event and being a great partner with us over the years.
All right, here we go. Thank you, Jason. We'll call this session your lawyer experience. And hold on to your hats, everybody, but I'm going to try this session without any PowerPoint presentation. So you'll have to focus on me. Good afternoon. My name is Simon Weintraub. I'm a partner in the high-tech department, the law firm of Yigal Arnon. We are one of Israel's largest and most well-known law firms. We have a cutting-edge tech practice, including many specialty areas, including Telecom. I'd like to thank Ed and Jason and the rest of the team at Access Innovation for inviting us to participate in this event. I've known Ed for many years. We've done a lot of events together, and I'm always happy to collaborate and meet people from Ed's vast global network. Our firm, which is often known in the marketplace as YA, has been involved in some of the leading telecommunication projects to date. We've been involved in the last couple of years representing some major players and investors, such as the Israel Infrastructure Fund, Telecom, and HOT, and IBC, which is known as Unlimited. IBC, for those who don't know, is a company that is deploying fiber and providing internet communications across Israel. This is, of course, in addition to our general tech practice, which we represent hundreds of active startup companies, leading venture capital funds in Israel and around the world, and multinational corporations. We have a leading M&A practice. Just to give you a couple of examples, the last year and a half or so, we've represented Intel in 2 major acquisitions. We represented Intel in their purchase of Habana Labs and also in MoveIt this past year. We represented NVIDIA in their acquisition of Mellanox. We have deep specialty teams who focus on in areas such as data privacy, compliance, complex commercial IP arrangements, regulatory issues, and tax structuring. With that said, for the few minutes that I have to speak at this event, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of interesting things spoken about, trends in the industry and commercial aspects of doing business in this space, I just thought I would maybe touch upon 3 legal issues that we come across on a day-to-day basis. And I thought that could be interesting to certainly to people who have not done business in the Israeli space, So let's take privacy, for example. As most of you know, the telecom industry has been rapidly changing in recent years and has resulted in massive increases in the amount of personal data that's being collected by telcos, as well as stricter and stricter regulatory requirements surrounding the collection and usage of personal data. The implementation of these requirements can be quite burdensome for companies. For example, companies that are collecting and processing personal data are required to disclose specifics about how they collect and use such data. This is particularly challenging for Israeli companies with a global reach that are often required to comply with multiple privacy policies, sometimes even conflicting privacy policies. We have a lot of experience advising startups in putting together such policies, as well as representing investors and acquirers who want to be sure that the companies that they purchase or invest in are compliant with local privacy laws. Another area that is very important in this field relates to rules that concern the export of advanced technology. This can include encryption technology, but possibly other advanced technologies applicable to telcos, such as AI. As a general rule, one should be aware that encryption technology is heavily regulated in Israel. And almost every kind or use of development of encryption technology requires a license in Israel. If any advanced encryption would be developed in Israel, then the transfer of source code abroad would require a special source code transfer license from the Ministry of Defense. In certain cases, this could even result in the obligation to disclose the actual source code to the Ministry of Defense. In addition, Israel regulates the export of dual-use technology. While in many ways Israeli export controls follow international norms, they often leave a great deal of discretion to the regulator. This increasing regulation of export control may impact technologies that are important to telcos, such as AI or network monitoring equipment. The point being here that before investing in an Israeli company, it's important to make sure that the company has all the applicable licenses in place and is not in violation of any legal requirements. This is an important due diligence flag. Lastly, I want to touch upon one other issue, which is something that all foreign companies, foreign players should know about when investing in Israel, because it's unique to Israel. We have an amazing organization here called the Israeli Innovation Authority, which is formerly known as the Office of the Chief Scientist. Most Israeli tech companies, including telco companies, take advantage of the many programs provided by the IIA. This is because the IIA provides grants that are paid back by way of royalties when the company, if and when the company is successful and is able to generate sales from that IIA-funded development, and is a non-dilutive source of financing. With that said, there is no such thing as a free lunch, and there are many restrictions in place under a special law here called the Israeli R&D law, which effectively provides restrictions on the ability of these companies to manufacture and to transfer IP outside of Israel. This is a complicated regime and can have ramifications in all kinds of transactions, including licensing, M&A, securitization. Here too, it is important to receive good guidance in this area and to flag these issues early on. In conclusion, I really just wanted to leave you with these few samples of legal issues that we deal with on a day-to-day basis. If anybody has specific questions, I'd be happy for you to reach out to me later in the event or privately. I wish everyone a great event, and I very much hope that hopefully next year we can do this physically as opposed to on the computer.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Simon. That was really interesting. And also about that free lunch, just let us know when we can come by your office and pick it up.
It's coming up.
We just wanted to invite all to go on the platform. We have more information on our, from our sponsors. There's an article from Yigal Arnon on privacy. But at this point, I'd like to welcome you to our first session, which is moderated by Naomi Merlis, who's the Business Development Manager at DLA Piper, one of the largest global law firms, a good friend of ours and partner for many years. So please go back to the agenda, click on the next session.